I actually wanted to start by asking if you guys are watching The Chosen, the TV series.
That's so funny. You know what? I've seen some of The Chosen, but I have to be totally honest and say I have not seen all of even the first season. And I think hopefully anyone that's involved in The Chosen is not going to be offended by that. But particularly when you are in this area of arts, you think we'd watch everything.
Yeah.
But we know so many people do so many different things.
Totally, yeah.
And we're working on our stuff, and we have 3 kids, so we don't watch a lot of anything, honestly.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. We did see the first episode. It was a lot of fun to watch it. And so thankful that Dallas is being used to set the pace for raising money for something if a studio is not going to take it in, or if a production company is not going to get behind it.
Just trusting God.
Yeah, the way that team has gone out and said, you guys can make this happen.
Yeah.
The public can make this series happen. And that's impressive.
Absolutely.
And it's a precedence for the rest of us.
Totally. Yeah, it's really exciting.
Yeah.
The reason I wanted to bring it up was because a couple weeks ago on the show, or actually it might have been a couple months ago at this point, there was a bit of a controversy. I don't know if you can call it a controversy because they seemed very prepared for it. Like the director did like an immediate Q&A about the controversy on this week's episode of The Chosen. But it was, I don't know if it's a controversy if you have a graphic ready before it happens. But it was basically, they depicted Jesus rehearsing one of his sermons that he was going to give. And I was delighted by this because personally, when I teach, I rehearse my sermons like 3 or 4 times.
Sure.
And I really do view teaching kind of as a performance. But I think that word performance is kind of a dirty word
it is.
in the church. But I think that in many ways, all of us are kind of performing in life.
Yeah.
And I think especially when a pastor gets up to teach, there is a performed aspect of that.
Yes.
And I think the idea of rehearsing just kind of speaks to like a desire for excellence, which is something that God calls us to as Christians. So I'm really excited to cover this topic, and this is kind of just a long-winded way of asking, how can performance be used as ministry? Which is basically, you guys have written this book called Producing Drama for Ministry, which focuses on this idea. Feel free to show the camera. This idea of producing drama and this idea of performance for the sake of glorifying God. Yeah. So what can that look like, and how can performance be used as ministry? Whichever of you wants to jump in first.
What we do say in our book, and I know there's so much more to talk about besides these points in our book, but what we do say in our book is that there are 4 goals with drama ministry. And that could be the umbrella for dance, worship, and other things as well. But the first goal is illustrations. Performance is great for illustrating a point that a pastor or teacher just can't specify enough.
Yeah.
Illustrations are wonderful, and obviously Jesus did that. It says in Matthew 13:34 that Jesus spoke to the multitude in parables, and without a parable, he didn't speak to them. And so illustrations is a wonderful way to use drama or use the arts. The second would be evangelism. We have seen so many beautiful testimonies by just having an excellent production presented, but with the gospel in there, communicated somehow, some way.
Yeah.
We've had people come to actually 2 specifically. We've had 2 different women, very transparent after the production. They came up to our counselors, our prayer team, and they said, I was thinking about suicide. I was actually going to take a bottle of pills this weekend, but someone forced me to come to this play.
Yeah.
And then they got prayer, and they joined a women's group for one of them. Another church, another community, same thing. I was going to kill myself today. And they gave their life to Christ, and they got baptized, and they joined that church that we were performing at. So just amazing things with evangelism. And then the third goal is worship. Using the arts to worship, exalt Him. The beautiful thing about worship is there's not a lot of rehearsal necessary. You pretty much do your gift. If it's dancing, then you can maybe rehearse the dance, but ultimately there's not like, hit this mark at this point, and you look at the cue cards and memorize your lines, and there's not a lot of production layers with worship. So that's beautiful. And then the drama can be used that way as well with human videos and things like that. And then finally, community outreach. Community outreach is powerful. Just down the freeway at Shepherd Church, they have one of the most popular Easter productions in all of Southern California, The Passion. And it's strictly outreach. It's just reaching the community, but also living out the passion and the gospel and illustrating it to people that may never have seen it or experienced it.
Yeah.
And so those are our 4 points with the arts. There's other points, there's other reasons to do it in ministry.
Yeah.
But these are the ones that we've banked on for almost 30 years now.
Those 4 points are really the reasons why we want to use drama for ministry and how we can use it effectively. I want to make the point that when we talk about drama for ministry, that it's the broad sense of the arts.
Yeah.
It's the broad sense of drama, which is acting or theater, music, and dance.
Yeah.
And that we were just having a conversation today about how there are giftings that are truly a blessing for us to be able to share those parables that Jesus talks about. And in history, if you look back, there's always been this kind of love-hate relationship with the church and the arts.
Yes, I that's one of the things I want to hone in on a little
when
bit.
that with the and it's with music, it's with dance, and it's with acting.
Yeah.
And one of the things that always drives me a little crazy is when we decide that, well, you know what, we can trust music and we can have music, but dance is of the devil, you know, or acting, we can't trust acting, you know, because that could have a little too much influence on the people.
Yeah.
And the reality is they're all in the same vein. You know, Lucifer had this great gift of singing. He had this great gift of music, I should say, not just singing, but music. And it was so powerful that when he fell, he was able to take a third of the angels with him.
I've never thought about it that way. That's really interesting.
If you think about that, he was able to take I don't believe he was that beautiful and that charming. I think it was also he had that powerful a gift.
Yeah.
And so when we look at the gifts that we have, that God's put in front of us, the artistic gifts, what can we do with that power and that influence? And all 3 of them working together for the kingdom, you know? And so for us, it's just saying, you know, these are gifts that God's given us. These are talents we don't want to bury. And everything that has breath should praise the Lord. Everything should point to him. And we can do it in such a beautiful way in the arts.